Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? In today's football ASMR video, we're going to be looking at the World Cup again in Qatar in 2022, later this year. And I'm basically going to be saying which, in my humble opinion, is each team's number one best player. Some of them are pretty standard, some of them are a little bit controversial. So stay tuned for Wales, for Portugal, and maybe for Uruguay as well. But I think you're going to really enjoy the video. I hope you do. And should we get going? So, Qatar. I'm going to start off and I'm going to go in order of the groups as well. So I've got groups A to G. We'll start off with the host nation, Qatar. So I know a couple of the Qatari players, and some people think Ali up front is their best player. I personally think that he's getting on a little bit, and his natural successor is Akram Afif. I actually bought him on, was it PES 2021 season update, and he's a really, really good winger, fast, good shot from distance, crossing. He's a really good player, so I think Akram Afif is Qatar's best player for the tournament. Okay, Ecuador. I had a look through their squad. I'm not familiar with many of them, which surprises me. Seems they've qualified so easily for this tournament ahead of other teams that I know players really comfortably, like Colombia, Chile, Peru even. And actually, due to his form already this season in the Turkish league, Ener Valencia is still their best player at 30 something, 32 maybe. He's left the Premier League, he's gone to Turkey, but he's having a whale of a time. And this season I think he may be the top scorer in the league so far, so he started really well. And I think that Ener Valencia is still Ecuador's best player. Senegal is, well, at first I thought, oh my god, they've got so many good players. I suppose I'm going to be not that controversial and just say Sadio Mane. He is, without a doubt, one of the best players in the world. And I think Liverpool is struggling a little bit without him this year. Certainly his old mucker up front, Salah, would, I think, prefer to have him playing there. Although Luis Diaz is very, very good. So, yeah, not that controversial, Sadio Mane. And lastly, Netherlands. Again, so many really great players. Maybe I could have chosen Van Dijk. I took the safe option and went for Memphis to buy. Wales played the Netherlands twice at the end of the summer, and he really impressed me when he came on. He's lightning fast, and he's got so much energy. I think that he is an excellent player. Okay, that's Group A. Okay, moving on to Group B. Very important group, of course, because it's got Wales in the group. And also, most of my subscribers are from Great Britain and the USA, so it's also got England and the USA in the group, but not forgetting Iran as well. So England, I think I can be boring and say Harry Kane, just because he's so consistent for the English national team. I was thinking maybe about Sterling. I thought that could be a good shout. So honourable mention to Raheem Sterling, who sometimes carries the team in the striking and sort of in the attacking positions, but Harry Kane is Mr. Dependable, isn't he? So I'm going to be just pretty safe and say him. For Iran, Sardar Azmoun. So there's like a funny little thing about Sardar, he's not that old, he's in his mid-20s, he's just moved to Bayer Leverkusen, and I think he's doing okay there. He was at Zenit St. Petersburg and in other teams, Rostov and Rubin Kazan in Russia, so he's in 3 teams in Russia. So I follow that league quite closely. I know all about him. He's an excellent player, good in the air, good on the ground, fast. He's got everything. But after the World Cup, was it the last World Cup, he retired from international football. He didn't score a goal at the World Cup, and he got so criticised by the home fans that he decided to retire. So he's back, and I think that he's going to do very, very well in qualifying. He bossed qualifying. So yeah, I think Sardar Azmoun is, he could shock everyone and do extremely well in the tournament. I hope he doesn't, for Wales' sake. But he could. He's very good. USA, I'm going to play it safe and choose Christian Pulisic. He's the one I know the most about, I would say. There are quite a few youngsters coming through though, so I will be unsurprised if one of them decides to have a really great tournament, which is totally possible. Okay, I said about surprises, so everyone in the US and everyone watching from the UK is probably saying, alright, Wales, Gareth Bale. However, let me tell you our little secret as a country. In Wales, we don't think that Gareth Bale is our best player. We think that he's our standout performer, poster boy, sort of gets us through, scores the goals. But the best player, the one that makes the team tick, play our best football as a group, is without a doubt, and now hold on to your seat, all my Italian subscribers, is Aaron Ramsey. You might not believe me if you watched Juventus play over the last 3 years, but Aaron Ramsey is far and away our best player, and this isn't my opinion. This is a national standpoint that Aaron Ramsey is Wales' best player. If one of the two retired tomorrow, as much as Gareth Bale is my favourite player, he's the most exciting player to watch. Aaron Ramsey makes the entire team tick. And for us, he's our best player. So, honourable mention to obviously Gareth Bale. But he isn't, and you can ask any Welshman, don't just ask me. Aaron Ramsey is our best player. When he's injured, which he is for next week's games, we panic. Okay, Group C. Are there any shockers in here? No. This is pretty predictable, I think. Argentina, Leo Messi. I think maybe a year ago I wouldn't have said that, but he is a man on a mission. He's won the Copa America with Argentina. He had also retired from international football and is back. He's starting to play much, much better for PSG now, and I think he realises this is probably his last World Cup and his last chance to win it. In my prediction video, which I'll leave a link to at the end of this video, I predict Argentina to win the competition, and it would be a fitting end to Leo Messi's potential international career. So no shocks there. Saudi Arabia, I'm kind of into Saudi football because I like football from random places around the world. Ask me questions about the Uzbek League or the Kazakh League, and one of the leagues I like is the Saudi Arabian League. So for me, Salam Al-Dosari of Al-Hilal is their best player, very tricky winger, incredibly fast, and he is sort of at the completely the right age now, late 20s, perfect for an attacking player. He'll be their standout player at the tournament. Poland, safe bet, Robert Lewandowski. Poland have got a decent overall squad and good players in every position. However, Lewandowski started his Barcelona career pretty well. Shame about the Champions League result the other night against Bayern Munich. They couldn't get him scoring against his old team. But in general, he started and he's already got hat-tricks. So, Robert Lewandowski for Poland. And then Mexico. Again, probably wouldn't have said this a year ago, but Irving Lozano is their best player. One of their other best players is going to be injured for the tournament, unfortunately, so it was a 50-50. But for me, I would say that Lozano is probably their best player, certainly on paper, and he's starting to play well for Napoli again, so he should do well. Okay, Group D. Any shockers in this one? No, I don't think so. France, for me it's Karim Benzema. Now he's back in the team, he's probably the best player. I hope Pogba can make it to the tournament, and Griezmann will be there as well. Everyone probably thinks Mbappe. To be honest, he didn't until that second. I didn't even think about him. Don't get me wrong, he is an excellent individual, but Benzema really just makes everything work. He holds the ball up so well. He scores so consistently. He's good at set pieces, at penalties in particular. He really is the focal point of the team, whereas Mbappe is a secret weapon. Kind of like what I said about Wales with Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale. So for me, you might be shocked, everyone just thinks Mbappe, but Benzema just doesn't have a bad day, ever. He hasn't had a bad day for about 4 years. So consistent, amazing. I hope he wins World Player of the Year at the end of the year. Okay, Australia. I had a look through the team and I'm not familiar with many of the players. So I picked the most consistent player for the national team, which is Aaron Moy. I know him a little because he used to play in England and he played out in China. So Aaron Moy for me is probably the best player and most consistent for the national team with the most experience. It'll be really interesting to see how Australia do in this group, as they don't really have some of the big stars playing in the Premier League that they used to, but they've still got some good players, but they play their football elsewhere, so I'm not as familiar with them. Denmark, for me it's Christian Eriksen still. He has started brilliantly for Man United. I watched him play against Arsenal and he ripped them apart with some of his passing. He is just outstanding. So for Denmark, it's definitely still Mr. Eriksen, which I'm glad to say, obviously, after what happened to him. And then Tunisia. Again, I don't know much about this team, but one of their standout players consistently over the last couple of years plays in France, and it's Wahbi Khazri, and he plays for, I want to say, Montpellier off the top of my head, and he's just their most consistent player at national level. It'd be interesting to see if Tunisia can do something in this group. They usually get to the World Cup easily and then don't make any impact, so I'm hoping that this year they actually state their claim to be remembered. Okay, Group E. Spain, Costa Rica, Germany and Japan. So for me, I put these in the wrong order on my spreadsheet. Spain, this was really tricky because they don't have an outstanding individual like, say, Argentina, Brazil, etc. They seem to be more a very, very high ability team. So for that reason, the team player, the one that makes everyone else tick, is Sergio Busquets. He is the most experienced, he's the captain, he's got the most caps, he makes everything work from his sort of base in the centre of midfield and just make sure the defence is okay, attack. Outstanding player, so it's probably his last World Cup as well, so I'm going to give that to him. And Costa Rica is going to be Kayla Navas. I don't really know much about the other players, unfortunately. But I think Kayla Navas is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So yeah, I think that he is definitely the outstanding player. Germany, for me, was really easy. I've got this sort of obsession with how good and how no one mentions it. The player Joshua Kimmich is. He is amazing. If he were Brazilian, then he'd be on the front cover of every magazine, every FIFA title. But because he's quite understated and German, no one ever talks about him. He can play anywhere. He has gone from being a wing back to being in central midfield. He was their man of the match against Barcelona the other day again. He is outstanding in every single department, attack, defence. He can do literally anything on a football pitch. Why has he not got some, Ballon d'Or or something? I just don't understand it. So for me, easy Joshua Kimmich. Tell you what wasn't easy, Japan. So I went for the safest bet possible and said the one player that I thought was the most outstanding at the moment at club level that I was aware of. And that has to be Celtic's Kyogo Furuhashi. He's already a legend in Celtic Park, and I can see why with his goals to games ratio. Yeah, I think he's probably one of the outstanding players they've got in the team at the moment. Again, Japan seem to be more like progressively better as a team, but don't have as many individually really good players. Like when they had Nakamura in the past, but the rest of the team wasn't quite as good. So, yeah, I think Furuhashi is probably the most individually outstanding player they've got. Okay, Group F, Belgium, Canada, Morocco, Croatia. I think Morocco is a little bit of a tricky one. The rest are quite easy. Kevin De Bruyne for Belgium. He is one of the best players in the world. I think if you definitely have him in the top 10, wouldn't you? If not higher. So I think the days of Hazard being one of the best players in the world have gone, but De Bruyne keeps going. So yeah, for me, easy De Bruyne. Canada, Alphonso Davies for Bayern Munich. There are a couple of other players who I'm really excited to watch Canada play at this World Cup. I love it when a team gets to the finals that haven't either been there ever or haven't been there for a long, long time. So I'm really excited to see Canada play, and I'll be rooting for Alphonso Davies particularly because he's got a particularly interesting story about his background and his life. So yeah, it's Davies for that. And he's got a good Welsh name as well, Davies. And then at Morocco, well, I think Morocco are an incredibly talented team. This is the opposite. They're almost a team of brilliant individuals, and I wonder whether they can actually bond. I have to give a special mention to Hakim Ziyech, who, whilst playing for Ajax, I would have considered their best player. But he's having a torrid time for Chelsea, who's supposed to leave in the summer, didn't, stayed. He's playing terribly, or not at all. So yeah, I hope it's not going to affect his World Cup too much. So with that being the case, I've gone for another player, Ashraf Hakimi, who's now playing for PSG, played for Borussia Dortmund in the past. He might actually play more in an up front role. He has always been a wing back, but I think for the national team he can play as a winger, and yeah, he'll be really exciting to watch whenever he plays. And then lastly, Croatia. I've gone for the safe bet of Luka Modric, but they're such a talented team. They've got excellent players all over the pitch, so I think he's just the best of a really good bunch. well, missed the boat due to injuries and, well, in his case, career decisions. But when he puts on the yellow shirt of Brazil, he's amazing. Again, it's Brazil, so you could say about 10 other names. Neymar's probably the most obvious choice, particularly though because I think he's their captain as well. He is outstanding when it comes to the national team. Serbia, I'm going to put Mitrovic due to how he's played in England over the last 2 years. And prior to that, even when he wasn't playing well in England, he would always play well for the national team. But he is an outstanding striker. However, I'm going to give a special mention to Milinkovic-Savic. I watched his assist for Lazio. It was about 2 games ago that Lazio played, maybe 3 now. The ball came towards him and he was stood just in front of the defenders and he literally backheeled it with the back of his foot, like that, with a heel he volleyed it with his heel. I've never seen anything like it, and it went through and Lazio scored. And I thought, if Zinedine Zidane had done that, we would see that like every single day. He is outstanding, and again, similar to Joshua Kimmich, don't understand why people aren't talking about him all the time. Has been one of the best players in the world. Amazing. I think it was a tough one. I chose Mitrovic. It could have easily been Milinkovic-Savic. I hope he has a really, really good tournament. Switzerland. Okay, a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, I would not have mentioned this person's name. However, Granit Xhaka, what's happened to him? This season he's amazing, and prior to this season for Arsenal, he always was amazing for Switzerland as well. So, yeah, for me it was a pretty easy one. They're a decent team all around. Some individual stars, but for me, Granit Xhaka makes the team tick from that central midfield position, and now he's doing it for Arsenal. Hooray! Okay, and then lastly, Cameroon. Cameroon have got a couple of really decent players, but for me, it's Vincent Aboubakar. He's playing his football. He used to play in Portugal for Porto. He's moved to Al-Nassr in Saudi Arabia. He's still absolutely amazing, one of the best strikers in Africa. He had an amazing African Cup of Nations, and I thought they were going to win it just for him, to be honest. He was so good, just because of him, but it wasn't to be. So yeah, for me, Aboubakar is Cameroon's outstanding player, but they've got a couple of really good youngsters that I'm going to keep an eye on. Okay, and lastly, Group H. We've got Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay and South Korea. Some of these ones are quite controversial. Okay, Portugal, so you think I'm going to say Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm definitely not going to say Cristiano Ronaldo. I was chatting to my Portuguese friend at work, and he said that when, and this is what I already thought, when Cristiano Ronaldo plays for Portugal, the rest of the team play badly because they have to get him the ball and he has to play in his position, and his position doesn't work in the formation, and it all just kind of messes things up. He just runs around doing his own thing. It's really difficult for them to play as a team when he is there. So although he's an outstanding individual and he scores goals and he makes the team win, you have to make a lot of sacrifices to fit him into the team. One player that does not have that problem is Bruno Fernandes, the Man United player. Again, just outstanding. So many goals over the last couple of seasons for Man United. He's a midfielder, like he's not even a winger or a striker, and he's scored an insane amount of goals, and he's got assists. He shoots from anywhere. He's amazing, and for me, he's definitely the best player. Ghana, choose from, but I've gone with Andre Ayew, formerly of Swansea City, of course, now playing out in the Middle East. I think they've got quite a few youngsters that are coming through. Didn't recognise many of their names, so I went back on the sort of Ayew, who was so hard-working. I remember watching him play for Swansea, desperately trying to get them promoted to the Premier League. Practically dragged us to the championship final, the playoff final in the championship. Yeah, he's brilliant, and he's so hardworking and talented. So for me, he's still their best player. Uruguay, okay, here we go again. So you think I'm going to say Luis Suarez or Edison Cavani? No, I think they're both, I wouldn't say over the hill, but they're in the twilight of their careers. They're still going to do great, obviously. But I don't even know if either of them are going to start, considering they've got Darwin Núñez now up front. So for me, their best player is Fede Valverde of Real Madrid. Midfielder, winger, plays wherever you want him to, does anything, defends, scores, creates goals. Another outstanding midfielder. So yeah, Federico Valverde is for me Uruguay's best player going into this tournament. And a nice easy one to finish, South Korea. Who else but Son Heung-min? Probably, again, if I said that De Bruyne is in the top 10 players in the world, I think Son has got to be in that list as well somewhere. Mind you, there's about 30 players in the top 10 if you ask me, which depending on which day of the week it is. But Son Heung-min he's just wonderful. He is fantastic. Not having a great season so far, but he always turns up for his national team anyway, and he's their focal point. So, and he's their captain. So yeah, I've got no doubts that he's gonna do well in the tournament. Yeah. So, what do you think? Let me know in a comment, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. And I should be showing around here this World Cup prediction video that I did a couple of months back. Check that out next if you want to see my tip for who gets into the latter stages and wins it. Otherwise, take it easy.